today at WazirX on this YouTube channel, and we have Ankitt Gaur, who's the founder and CEO of EasyFi Network, with us. Now, we have all been hearing about, kind of the layer two networks. So Ankit probably kind of gave birth to one of such networks, which is called the EasyFi Network, right? And Ankit, it's been a pleasure having you here on our show. It's indeed
Thank
a
you. As always.
kind of real pleasure to chat with you because I've seen all your YouTube videos, right? And I've seen you talking about the EasyFi networks. But personally, I really was curious about this network, right? So my first question, I think it's a mandatory question to anybody who's there in the crypto space, is like, how did you start your crypto journey? Please go ahead.
Thank you, Archit. Thank you for having me here today. So essentially, I come from a technology and enterprise consulting background. Worked in that space for almost 15 years. Entered into crypto space in 2016, and I was then introduced to this space by a Chinese friend of mine who explained to me how this works. He and I got connected during my stint in the enterprise consulting. So he was the one who actually introduced me how this whole technology works, what exactly it is. I had been hearing about Bitcoin since 2011, 12, but did not at that point of time found any real applications and stuff. And when I got stumbled upon this whole smart contracts and the layer of solidity, which was enabling more in-depth utilization of blockchain as a technology, that's when I was able to relate to it as in how it is going to be creating a new era. And it was then in late 2016, early 17 when I started to get into this space. I started by working on few consulting assignments on the blockchain technology space, started reading about it. 2018, I wrote a book as well, targeted for CXO level people, primarily the non technology side, the business side people, so that they can understand the possibilities and what this blockchain technology can bring to businesses and to the real world applications. And then from then on, we headed on to build a business which was called CoinFox, which was more of a trading aggregation engine from multiple exchanges, aggregating the liquidity because in 17, 18, especially 19 during the bear market, the bigger problem was liquidity aggregation. So CoinFox was focused primarily on that. So we got in a lot of retail users and then moved on to the institutional business in CoinFox. Then, parallelly in 2018, we started reading about DeFi, and it started to fascinate us as a most logical, hand in the glove kind of a use case for blockchain. And me and my co-founder Anshul, we started to deliberate various different ideas as in how and what should be done in the DeFi space. And that's that, and then it sort of gave us a thought that okay, the capital deployment and being able to channelize the correct usage of capital is going to be the underlying primary requirement of DeFi. But during those days, the Ethereum gas prices were really inhibitive and were prohibitive of adoption of this kind of functionality. And that's when we started to explore what could be the solutions. And we since we were working very very closely with Polygon team, then Matic, we explored and we thought that why don't we start building upon this capital layer, which is going to be eventually become the lending rails for and the infrastructure for the money markets on layer 2. And since then we started working on it, launched EasyFi in late 2020 approximately. September is when we went live. August is when we announced the project, and since then it's been an interesting journey.
Right. So, well, I think probably it's nice knowing your journey, but my second question to you is like, what is this network all about? We've been hearing this all across social channels, all across in the crypto communities. Like, what is EasyFi Network all about? Can you please go ahead and answer?
Yeah. So EasyFi Network actually is a money market protocol, which is essentially focusing on channelizing the correct deployment of capital, where people can do lending, borrowing, and various other activities by utilizing the capital which is being there with people. They can borrow it from people who have the capital. So the fundamentals remain on the lending and borrowing, but EasyFi, since its mission in the beginning itself started with a focus on ensuring and enabling better capital deployment avenues. See, the issue today in crypto space primarily has been that there is enormous amount of capital that is available, but there are very few options, or I would say channels for its deployment, which can actually go ahead and solve the real world problems, real world challenges. While lending and borrowing in today's DeFi stage is available for that matter, even on EasyFi, but it is being used more so for the arbitrage purposes, for trading purposes. But there are not many avenues where the actual capital utilization for day-to-day purposes is being borrowed. So EasyFi have, since the beginning, have been working on various different products, modules to enable those financial avenues onto the networks, especially on the layer 2, so that the micro loans, the small ticket size loans, are also feasible financially, and for users on all different areas, to be able to bring in the right movement of capital. That's primarily EasyFi Network is.
Right. Right. Also, I think since I personally read a lot about the layer two networks, right? And so, how do you see the future of all these layer two solution networks right now?
So layer 2 networks are very, very essential components in the entire technology stack for making blockchain and the network solutions more adoptable by the common man. So imagine it to be the bypasses that happens that were being created in our country at various different places to release the clogging of a main city. Generally, we create a bypass and then we connect into that. So you can, for from a simpler sake, you can connect it like that. The layer two solutions are essentially the extended network of mainnet, which is, let's say, Ethereum in this case, for settlement. So Ethereum remains as the settlement layer, but the transactions, the payload happens at the layer twos, and then the financial final settlement goes and happens on the layer one. So essentially, from the perspective of being able to take care of the load, being able to take care of the user experience, being able to take care of the costs of transactions, layer twos are going to be the inevitable part of the entire user journey.
Right. Right. Indeed, interesting to know that. Now, second question, I think probably the fourth question which I have is like kind of what is uncollateralized lending, under collateralized lending, and the collateralized lending? Like, what do you mean by this for a layman to understand this? Because it seems all technical jargons, but
Okay.
you and me
So
might be knowing about it.
so okay, I'll give you a small context about it from the real world scenarios which we all are familiar with. So if
Yeah.
somebody try to go and take a property loan, loan against property, or loan against gold, that is a collateralized lending, where generally there is a collateral that you give to the institution or establishment who is issuing that loan to you. Again, and in that particular case, there is always an over collateralization. So for example, if the value of your collateral is $100, you will only be able to take a loan of $70. That's what happens in loan against property, loan against gold, and all other collateral options that you have, which have been prevalent in the financial markets since ages, and primarily for the big ticket loans. So that is what is collateralized lending. When you talk about uncollateralized lending, where the loan is being given without any collateral, primarily based on trust and factoring in your capability to repay the loan. So that is uncollateralized lending. And the most common example of this is your credit cards, your personal loans, etc. And then you call under collateralized lending. So under collateralized lending is in a form is where the loan is being issued for on a smaller amount of your money, whereas it is, but those are generally very, very short term loans. And then again, in the traditional markets, if you look at, under collateralized loans are given in case of trading. So when you work with a stockbroker, let's say for example, you deposit a small margin and they give you the balance difference as a loan for you to trade. So you deposit $100, the broker gives you $900, and you are able to make a trade of $1,000. So that is under collateralized lending. So these are the three different forms, and we at EasyFi are building these all three avenues onto the blockchain based network, onto our money markets protocol. Right now, collateralized lending is live, and then now we are working on a module for under collateralized loans, which are going to be released soon, maybe this month in the alpha phase.
Well, that's nice to know that. Right. It's indeed a journey for you to building this network, EasyFi network. That's for sure. But now another question is like, what are the key benefits of EasyFi network that you see?
So the key benefits of EasyFi network are especially twofold. One is because it is primarily on a multi-chain network for, and especially on layer two. Hence, the transaction cost and transaction speeds are fine, are very very economical and very very favorable for the users. And the second most important thing is the offerings, is the modules that EasyFi network is launching, whether it is in the form of payday loans, whether it is in the form of under collateralized loans for trading, etc. I mean, all the details is there on the website. So the main DNA and the main benefit of EasyFi network essentially is in its innovation in application of smart contracts and money markets to create the borrowing avenues for real world use cases. That is the main thing about EasyFi network. What are the benefits to the user? So you
Right.
get to, so as we progress in the journey, user will people will be able to draw up loans for real uses, real purposes, and not just for trading or not just for arbitrage opportunities.
Right. Were there any challenges that you found out? Because as an entrepreneur, I think there'll be immense amount of challenges while building this whole network.
Oh
So, are
yes,
there a few
absolutely.
challenges?
So we were essentially one of the first DeFi company on Polygon in August 2020. And when we started working on it, the amount of traffic that we got initially, it really time tested the infrastructure at all different levels. Even the onboarding of the users were very complicated. I really do appreciate Polygon team who worked with us shoulder to shoulder to improve that experience since then. So that's the journey, that's the problem of being kind of pioneers into a particular space. So while Cream Finance was being launched on Binance Smart Chain, we were launched on Polygon Matic network, and similarly the applications were being built upon. And secondly, on the side, the limitations of the available wallets in those times. So we only had MetaMask. There were very limited wallets. Now Polygon has amazing number of wallets and the partnership ecosystems to be able to list more assets, to be able to build new things. So one of the capabilities that we launched very early on, that was in January, February last year, but did not really had enough liquidity for the staked assets. So essentially, a lot of blockchains now have moved into the proof of stake model, and the capital that is deployed in proof of stake essentially becomes locked in there while they get the representative tokens. But what do you do with it? Whereas EasyFi brought in the concept of stake derivatives assets as collateral, where if you have, let's say, staked your Ethereum on Lido, you get ST Lido, which is a stake derivative asset, which represents your share in the overall stake on that particular network. Now, you can bring that ST Lido onto EasyFi, put it as collateral, and take a loan in stablecoin. So that sort of one reduces exposure while your entire position is earning the rewards from the proof of stake. But you, as an individual, your exposure into that particular asset goes down. So these kind of efficient products we built, but then when they were built, they were very early on, and there was not enough liquidity available. Now we are seeing for last since last quarter to have enough amount of liquidity coming in on ETH staking primarily, and we hope to see be able to give people the efficiency that we have been talking about for almost like 3 quarters now.
Right. So I'll take a few comments here. A lot of people are quite positive about your network. I think we have, Amir Khan who's wishing you all the very best with the EasyFi network. Then, we have Sagar Lenny who wants to ask you this question, right? He says, as we know, bank's traditional system is very outdated, right? I believe DeFi plus DAO gives you the power to be your own bank as well as you.
Mhm.
So how do you think EasyFi makes it simpler and powerful for investors?
So absolutely, Sagar, I appreciate your understanding on the DeFi and DAO's capabilities to be do that. So you look at it this way: in the decentralized and permissionless systems, there are always signers or approvers at every step who becomes the middlemen and the gatekeepers for various different processes. When you establish a system like this, uh, the code becomes the owner of this particular process, where the approval of your loan is driven by the code, not by an individual. So many a times we have seen in previous years there have been challenges in banks, while the bad loans were approved as a result of favorism or various different processes, whereas code do not understand friendship, right? Code only understand logic, and those are the solutions which are going to come up with the mechanisms of this particular features, the capabilities which are built onto into the smart contract on blockchain, and then this particular code will work it out.
Mhm.
So primarily, if I tell you in a way, like let's say tomorrow, even say RBI comes up with their CBDCs, the money market protocols like EasyFi will become the infrastructure to run those CBDCs and run the tomorrow the banking operations of future on these networks.
Okay, it's nice to know that.
So I know there are various different projects which are launching the gold representative tokens, where you can invest into gold and take a position in gold in those tokens. So
Right.
once those are there and the CBDC of RBI is there, then the you can one can use the EasyFi networks, money market protocols, capabilities, algorithms to take a loan, actually a gold loan. So maybe tomorrow Muthoot Finance comes on board to EasyFi networks infrastructure, then they will be able to take out loans against gold using that the particular RBI, the CBDCs.
Right. Nice to know that. So another comment I'd like to take up is by Vikram Kanwar. I think he asked that how secure are layer twos as compared to layer one.
Right. So I would like to answer this in a way. The layer twos are in the evolution stage. So the security and the adoption, the trust in that particular layer twos, you can only validate based on its adoption, based on the number of users, the TVL, the dApps that are coming onto that particular layer two solution. While layer two is an extension to the primary thing, so there are various different parameters how you would. So in the previous years, like 17, 18, you would evaluate the strength of a layer one based on its consensus and the number of mining operators which are into the network. Similar to that, the strength of a layer 2 can be validated based on these parameters, which includes like the dApps, which includes the TVL, which includes the developers working on it, and the validators that are onto that network. So these are the various parameters based on which a particular layer 2 network can be compared on the security standpoint.
Right. Right. My last question, how do you see the role of DeFi now going into the future? Very basic question. But I think to make our community understand, how do you see the role of DeFi now shaping our future?
So essentially, the role of DeFi in changing our future is can be related in the similar way how you could have see the Web 2.0 fintech systems have changed our own way the way we make payments in today's world, right? Or we make various other consume various other financial instruments, whether it is investing in a mutual fund on click of a button, whether it is investing in stock markets, whether it is making UPI payments, whether it is QR code payments. So the way this has changed, similarly, all these DeFi components, whether it is DeFi based loans, whether it is DeFi based payments, whether it is DeFi based insurance, all of these are going to change and reflect upon how we interact. So today, in today's world, we do not really know how the UPI lending rails work. All we know is that there is a UPI which can transfer money from my bank account to your bank account. So similarly, in future, user will not really have to worry about how what smart contracts do they interact with, on whether it is layer 2, whether it is layer 1. All they are going to be concerned about, one, how fluid my experience is as a user for being able to make a particular objective or a particular transaction, whether it is drawing up a loan against my assets. Now, the way, if you look at everything falling into place, is that on one side there are NFTs which are getting converted into the tokenization of houses. We have been hearing tokenization of real world assets in terms of cars. So all of these are getting, now imagine once these are tokenized, you can bring those tokens on chain onto a smart contract protocol like EasyFi, where you put your car as collateral, and then you can have a crowdfunding coming in to finance that particular car of yours instead of going to a bank. So this is how DeFi is going to change how we are going to be interacting with money.
Right. On that note, I think it's been incredibly knowledgeable. This session, I think I was a very curious fan of EasyFi Network, and you've helped me learn a lot of things. And I wish
Thank
you all the luck for EasyFi Networks, and I hope
thank
that it does some wonderful things in the future. And
thank you.
it was a pleasure hosting you, Ankit, and learning
Thank
from you too. So,
thank
on
you.
that note, I guess I'll end my live stream here. And indeed, thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. Have a nice time. Bye.